Good afternoon, Namaskar. I, Kriti Vadhera, would like to welcome all our viewers and learners to CIT NCERT's live phone program. And in this session, we will be taking up economics as a subject for class 11 students. I would like to tell my viewers here that you are watching us live on PME Vidya's trial run on channel number 11. And the topic for today's session is going to be multiple perspectives in economics. And to discuss in detail the experts who have joined us for today, I would like to introduce Professor M.V. Srinivasan. Namaskar, we welcome you. And Professor Srinivasan is from Department of Education and Social Sciences, NCERT. And there's one more guest who has joined us today for this discussion. I would like to introduce Mr. Mahendra Nand Kishore Kuntwal. Namaskar, sir, we welcome you as well.
Namaste.
And Mr. Mahendra is from Central Academy School from Chittorgarh. And before we start with today's live interaction program, I would like to remind our viewers here that in between this live interaction, feel free to send your questions, raise your queries. You can dial on our toll-free numbers. Our numbers would be 1800111265 and the other number is 1800112199. You can also send your queries and questions on the live streaming which is happening now of this program on NCERT's YouTube official channel, that is NCERT official. We will be certainly taking up all your questions in the last minutes of the program. So beginning with today's live interaction, first I would like Professor Srinivasan to come up for the discussion. Professor Srinivasan, multiple perspectives in economics. This is the title for today's interaction. I would like you to elaborate this for our students, that what is the meaning of this phrase, multiple perspectives basically?
Thank you Ms. Vadhera and CIT for giving this opportunity to share one of the important issues that we confront in our daily life. The term multiple perspective is in simple terms that different viewpoints. That's the way we can take it actually. And if you look at the screen, viewers, you may be studying in class 11 and by this time you must have been familiarizing yourself with many economic issues. You study economics in class 9th and 10th and you are in class 11 now, and so you started realizing what is economics all about, what are the important economic issues that India is confronting, what is meant by development, what is meant by food security, what is poverty, what are the economic challenges that India is facing today, what is globalization, how India is facing its globalization, and many other topics you must have come across in your life, in your economics classroom. Look at the screen. If you are a regular reader of newspapers and if you are watching television news regularly, you must have seen that in this week the Indian Parliament has passed many bills. Three most important among them are the ones that I am listing here. The Essential Commodities Amendment Bill, the Farmers Produce Trade Commerce Promotion Facilitation Bill, the Farmers Empowerment and Protection Agreement on Price Assurance and Farm Services Bill 2020. The democratically elected government has passed this bill to introduce reforms in the area of agriculture. The government assures that all the three bills are going to benefit farmers, the Indian farmers of all categories, small farmers, small farmers and large farmers, all of them, all of you. You know that India, majority of the population is depending on agriculture. Nearly 70% people are living in rural India. Among all the three sectors, agriculture, manufacturing and services, agriculture is the only sector which shows the positive growth even at the time of corona.
Right.
Okay, even at the time of COVID-19. However, though government is assuring that these three bills are going to benefit farmers and it will bring them or it will increase their earnings, they will get a better price for their products. You know that in the newspapers and in the television also that hundreds and lakhs of farmers all over India are also on the streets Many of them were also coming to Parliament. Towards Parliament, they were stopped by the police. And in many states, farmers or the states, they were protesting against the bill. They were saying that this bill is against the farmers. Why is this so? It is the same people who elected this government, and the government is also in the interest of the same people is passing this bill. Why these two different viewpoints? Why farmers and the trade unions and all the people who are on the streets are saying that these bills are against the farming community? It is for the corporate interest. So there are many viewpoints that are expressed against the bills that were passed in the Parliament, and there are many viewpoints expressed by the government in favor of the bill. Why is this so? This is the crux of the discussion today. Today we are going to discuss why we can have why the same issue but different viewpoints, how these emerged in our daily life.
Right.
So we are going to see that how different viewpoints are emerging, and at the end of this discussion we are going to see how in economics discipline, how it get originated actually.
Okay.
So that's the kind of discussion that we are going to have. So multiple perspective means you will have a different viewpoints on the same event, same economic activity.
Here I would like to ask you something, that
Yes.
is it really necessary for school going children of 11, 12 secondary classes to have this idea of multiple perspectives?
Very right question, Ms. Vadera. Children after class 12, you are in class 11 now, and the next year class 12, you are going to vote. You are going to be the citizen of this country, going to some of you may be entering into politics after due time. You may be entering so from next year after class 12 you are going to vote in elections. So you need to understand the society, you need to understand, you need to learn how to argue for a particular perspective. You also need to have that how to listen to the other viewpoints, other arguments. Okay, so in terms of democracy, learning to live, learning to disagree, agree to disagree, these are the important requirements. Secondly, it is also necessary for developing critical thinking perspective at this stage, which is also the major idea promoted in the new education, National Policy of Education 2020.
Right.
So in that sense, it is essential for children to understand why these different perspectives emerge. What are those perspectives?
Absolutely.
On what basis these perspectives emerge? And because these perspectives also have a lot of origin. They have a policy background, and they also have a lot of social science theories backing these bills. And the same side of the farmers also have a lot of backing to their own argument actually. So we need to understand the hidden story behind every perspective. So it is necessary that children need to get trained to understand why these perspectives emerge, what are those perspectives, so that they will be able to better prepare themselves to become a citizen of this country.
Right, absolutely. So now when we have understood that it is really necessary for these secondary level students to have this idea of economics, economy as a whole, and multiple perspectives. So here I would like to bring into the discussion the other guest, Mr. Mahendra. As you are part of Central Academy and you must be familiar with, you like on day-to-day routine you will be interacting, you must be interacting with school-going children. So what are the activities you do to encourage these multiple perspectives in terms of classroom teaching, if we talk about?
Likewise, there are two ways to introduce multiple perspectives. One is to ask the questions to the students so that, and you are already knowing that the students will be having different perspectives. So then there are a few examples that I can put as questions where students do have different opinions. Like 2 years back only, I was in class and while teaching them the concept of demonetization. So I've started my question like, was demonetization took place to curb the problem of black money, or was it to strengthen our banking system? So was it failure or success? Now here the students do have different opinions. Now why do they have different opinions? Now it is a subject of discussion that may be possible they have studied something, maybe possible they have watched something on news channel, maybe possible they are influenced by some of the, some political things. So they may have a different answer to this question. Similarly, a question. This is very interesting question and one of my favorites, which I use, though may sound quite immature for economics teacher, but students really enjoy this question. Is it like I asked them that there is problem of poverty in our country, so why don't government or RBI prints more of the currencies to curb this problem and distribute the notes among the needy ones? So can it, like, is it possible to deal with poverty in this way? So then some of the students agree also, and then they come out with interesting ideas that what we can do to control the problem of poverty in our country. Similarly, apart from questions, we do a lot of activities also. Like this was one very beautiful activity which I did when we were into the discussion of government school or private schools. We were studying the chapter infrastructure, and there we talked about it. So like I asked opinion of students about private schools, that why you people are studying in private school, not in government school. So then they were having arguments like private schools, they are producing quality, they are having more facilities, though the fee is higher. This is one point, but apart from that, these two things they are getting. And when I asked about when I asked about that why not government school, so then their reply, it was their reply, they said that in government school though there is no fee, but then facilities are also less. So this was their opinion, but I wanted to bring a different perspective in front of them. So then if I show you some of the pictures which I did, I actually went to one government school, and in that government school we like I went there, and thereafter I had a discussion with the students, and I asked those students to write a letter to my students saying that what are the challenges that they are facing in their schooling. And the other thing I asked them is what are your views on the private schools which are there in the cities. So then they have written the letter to my students, and then after my students, when they started reading those letters, they were having a different perspective. The perspective what they used to think, and now what other students used to think about it. So this is how I used to encourage multiple perspectives in the classroom. So this was one example. There are many things which we used to do. So that's what I have to say.
Okay, so as you told us that these are the multiple perspectives conversations you had in school with your students.
Yes.
Dr. Srinivasan, would you like to throw some light on this?
Yes, it's
in
very
classroom teaching, what happens with teachers and in between?
See, as a person from NCERT working in the area of economics textbook, as a curriculum developer, as a researcher, have come to know that there are many ways through which teachers can promote the idea of multiple perspective. Look at the screen actually. If you look at the screen, you will find, just change the screen, and if you look at, my dear viewer, just take out your pen, and then you just have to tick mark. You can tick mark only one, or if you are really impressed that you can tick mark more than one. So I wanted this to be this session to be an interactive session, and from your chat box, if you are able to respond, it will be really good actually. So if you look at the screen, you can see I have posted a question actually. The question, I am reading the question also. You can tick mark one. Education and health facilities for all its citizens in India should be provided by only, answer 1, only by government. Answer 2, partly by government and private sector. Answer 3, mainly by government. Answer 4, mainly by private sector. Answer 5, only by private sector. If you read all these 5 options, you will find that every option has a hidden perspective behind it.
Right. Dr. Srinivasan, I would like to tell you here, we have been getting the replies. The first reply I've got is partly by government and private sector. Partly by government and private sector. The next viewer also.
Oh, we will be interested in knowing their names also, who are all responding to it. It's very good.
Shobhana Ramachandran is writing to us. Soumya has also written to us.
Okay, thank you. So if you look at, let us look at the perspective building, how it happens. If you look at each option. Look at the screen again. If you look at the screen, only by the government. The first option is only by the government. This clearly shows that if you look at many countries, particularly Scandinavian countries or many European countries, you will find that, or even many countries, even countries like Sri Lanka, you will find the education and health facilities in some of the socialist countries. Education and health are provided solely by the government. That is because the ideological, the perspective behind it. Partly by the government and by the private sector. If you take the case of India, you will find by now that a huge number of private hospitals are there. A huge number of private schools are also there actually. So you will find that the mixed economy approach, where both markets and the government play important role in providing education health.
Absolutely. Gurjeet Jugal, one of our viewer student, has written, being mixed economy, both options will be considered.
There. So their views, I am asking your views. So the mainly by government means most of the European countries and an American continent, education health is mainly provided by the government. That's the kind of third option. Mainly by the private sector. This situation is not existing in anywhere in the world. You will find that a small section is given, but otherwise completely 100% private sector provision is not at all there. It is in the model, something called, it is not existing anywhere. Only by private sector, that is also not there. So if you look at the current situations, you will see that all 5 options are there, and you may agree with your own views that all the 5 options, anyone may be true. There is no right or wrong answer. So this kind of variety of perspectives prevailing is an example of this multiple perspective. Students, if you are asking this question to the students, based on children's own examples, they may come out with any answers based on their own surroundings actually. Let me give you one more example. Look at the screen. I am going to give you, just take out your pen, and you are going to, because we are, this is the situation where we can discuss about how the multiple perspectives are being discussed in the classroom. I am posing some 8 questions, 8 statements. These 8 statements, you are going to read these statements and then see, are you agree with that statement? If you agree, you can just tick mark A for 1 for each statement. If you partly agree, you can say PA. You can write the question and the answer. Okay, question number and the answer. Okay, if you look at item number 1, then you can say A1, A, PA or D. Okay, so I am reading this statement. Listen to the statement carefully, then you can respond. This statement 1. India can produce all the goods and services domestically that we require, and hence no need to import from other countries. Statement 2. Globalization has benefited only a section of middle class and high income class. Statement 3. We need only big dams to be built in India to develop agriculture. Statement 4. Indian government should provide subsidized food grains to all the needy or low income families. You know that during the COVID regime, the government has ensured that all the households who are needing their food grains to be given freely. Okay.
Right.
So this is the example that whether it should be there or not. Statement 5. Indian government should take the responsibility to provide fertilizers, electricity and other necessary inputs to farmers. Statement 6. It is necessary to provide free or low cost engineering and medical education in India. The statement 7. There is nothing wrong to pay high salaries to chief executive officers of corporate companies, information technology professionals like software engineers and government employees in India. Statement 8. The prices of all goods and services in India are determined by the supply of goods in the market and demand by the consumers in the market. Viewers, if you look at the answers that you have made, you can share in the live
Well, I've
chat.
been getting, since you have started questions, I've got so many answers. For the first statement, most of the students are saying D, that they disagree to it. And for second, Nitesh, Charu, Chaya, all are agreeing to A for the second statement. And for the third, we have PA,
Okay.
and so on. I have so many questions. Nitesh is saying for fourth statement it should be A.
Okay. So you will find, yeah, for any answers for item
For fifth
5,
we have got PA.
PA.
For sixth we have got A. Many of them are saying A. For seventh we have got A. PA, sorry. For seventh PA. For eighth it's D.
Okay.
So these are the views of
you
our
will find
viewers.
that for these 8 statements which are dealing with economics, there are not all the students or all the viewers have put as agreed. Some of them have agreed, some of them disagreed,
Right.
some of them partly agreed actually. It's also because every one of you have a different viewpoint, different perspective toward this issue. That could be based on, as our colleague Mahendra was saying, that depending on their locality, depending on their circumstances, your views may be different actually.
Absolutely.
I am expecting more such classroom experience from experiences from Mahendra. So you will find that this is because none of these statements have a finite answer. We cannot say that all of them are agreed.
Right.
That is correct. So there is no right in social sciences. There is no one specific answer as correct.
Right.
Okay, it depends on the perspective. It depends on your the viewpoint, your ideological viewpoint. It depends on the even for example your background subject. Okay, so these perspectives emerge because of the situations in which we live. If I put these statements to some other person in say somewhere in Africa, their viewpoints may be completely different.
Absolutely.
In fact, Mahendra can better explain about the globalization experience.
I would ask Shri Mahendra ji again. Mahendra ji, as Dr. Srinivasan just explained so beautifully, and our viewers are continuously replying to these statements. So this is the perfect example of multiple perspectives what we are discussing here today.
Exactly.
As you are into the direct classroom teaching, I would like to ask you, you just mentioned that you discussed this black money issue which country has faced in recent years with your students. So at times there must be a situation, a heated argument or something where some students are agreeing to it and some are disagreeing to it. So have you faced some issue? Can you please tell our viewers about it? How do you face it?
Yeah, it really happens. And even this demonetization issue was something we were having, a sort of hot debate in our classroom. So, and then when I tried to identify that what exactly is the cause, why these students are having different perspective. So in case of demonetization, when that whole discussion took place, then at the end, the conclusion which I received from the students, so there I found that it was because of the political influence. ultimately the student got convinced that he said that because there are like he belongs to certain, like, or his family belongs to certain party, and that's why everybody is saying that demonetization is good, and that is why he is also saying. But then he was not having any economical reasons, so he didn't study, but still he was having his perspective over demonetization. Adding to the same thing, as sir was saying about globalization. So my experience with this globalization, different opinion of globalization, like I went to one of the camp where like it is in Indore, where there are around 30 families, 150 members, they live there. And in this era of globalization, they are making their resources on their own. Like they are doing farming, they are having their own school where they are having their own set curriculum, and the students are being taught that only. They are operating one bakery, then they are doing animal husbandry also, they are selling milk also, but then everything they are arranging is through their own resource only. So then there I asked the students that one side we are talking about globalization, and the other side these 30 families, they are living in this way. So what do you think about it? And then the students again came up with different opinions, that some were conveying that globalization they were favoring. The other students were finding that yes, this is interesting, and what is the need if we can arrange everything here on our own only, then what exactly is the need of globalization? Then there were many problems also. They started identifying that because of globalization, these cultural problems or these socio-economic problems also comes out. So then the discussion kept on going, and there again it was also a perfect example that students are having multiple perspective. Though the part is that we do not reach, we are not able to reach to the particular conclusion, but still these discussions are such on that student opens his mind, and it kept on going. And might be now students will be there in college, but still somewhere they are having these perspectives in their mind, and they are still be searching more about it. So this what experience I was having in class.
Okay, so this is the experience you faced. So if I ask you that, have you come across any situation in which a teacher poses a question to its students, and what is the can we pose any questions to our students? How do you face this as a challenge, and if you have some examples to share? Can it be taught in an economics classroom for secondary level students?
Okay. There is a question in microeconomics where like I do ask students in the beginning of the chapter only. I ask the students about what is the difference between need, desire, and demand. So this is how we start this chapter, theory of demand, with this. So then the students, they come out with different things, need, desire, and demand. They come out with different opinions, and then proceeding to it, like as in say need, we consider it like food, shelter, and clothing. Although nowadays this 1.5 GB data per day is also considered as need. But when I ask them that okay, let us say laptop is a need or not. So can we consider laptop as the need? So here the students comes out with different opinions. They say no, laptop cannot be the need. The other student, they say no, for example, laptop is a need for software engineer, but for a farmer it's not a need. Then the other student says no, for farmer also it can be a need. Maybe the farmer is progressive and he is using laptop, and he is using certain like sort of technology he has introduced in his farming, maybe. So again, this sort of questions also give rise to different opinions of the student, and this is how it goes on. The other questions, like one question is there, that work done by the homemakers at home is not considered as an output, and they do not treat it in national income. So what are your opinions about it? So then again the students are having different sort of replies. Some agree that yes, it should be included. Some says no, how we will include it, as in we do not have any instrument to measure them. So this is how the students comes out with different opinions. And even like a question is there, this is a sort of question also I put, and a sort of little activity also I do. I ask students that if I consider you as finance minister of India, and you are to allocate the budget for different sectors. So, for example, you are to allot budget for defense, for health, for education, infrastructure, agriculture, industrialization, everything. If you have to allot it, so in what way you will allot the budget? What percentage you will consider it in that way? So there also the students, when they frame the budget, they come out with different percentage of budget for different sectors, and there they do consider that this sector is more important and this sector is less important. So there also we have different perspectives of students. So these are, some of the questions where we try to encourage multiple perspectives, and students also comes out with different opinions. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. And you were sharing before we were starting the session about your experiences which you face in school teaching. You were sharing about some activities as well, as you shared pictures with us. I can see some students are writing postcards. If you could tell something about that, what was it?
Yeah, it was the postcard activity we did, and in that activity, actually earlier also I was saying that we when I went to one government school. Actually, in classroom only we were having a discussion that what are the problems that the students of government school faces? What are the challenges behind? What are the challenges that they face? So then, to do the exercise, I went to one of the government school, and there I interacted with the students of that government school, and there I requested them to write a postcard to my students. I have given them the name also, and then after those students, they have written postcard to my students. And in those postcards, I asked them to write at least two things. They can write as many as they can, but at least two things is: one, what are the challenges that they are facing, and second thing is what do you expect that what's going on there in the private schools. So then the schools of that government school, they come out with different things, and when we read the postcard in our classroom, and we got such beautiful things out of that. Like one incident is very close also, and very, like, I found it very emotional also. So in one of the postcard, a student has said, he was writing to a student who is well to do with money, who is economically sound. And what she is writing, she is saying that on Sunday, probably Sunday is your best day, as you enjoy Sunday as holiday, but we do not like Sundays, because Monday to Saturday we go to the school, but on Sunday we have to go to one farm and work there. We do not like to do, we like more to study rather than involving in the activities like farming. So that particular thing has changed the whole perspective of the students, where the students, they came across that what are the things these students in villages are facing. We are having sort of facilities, and still we are not some sort of respecting it, but these students, their challenges are quite different. So after that incident of postcard activity, the whole of the scenario of classroom has changed, and we were trying to study economics, but then the conclusion of that activity was, actually students have started respecting the resources what they are having in. So this was a beautiful
Right.
experiment, and even now also, like, those students, they have this thing in mind, and whenever they have discussion with me, they keep this thing in mind that, sir, you were right, and now we see that we are having resources and we must use them optimally. Yeah. So
Absolutely,
that was the
Mahendraji. I could totally visualize what you were speaking, what you were telling us, and it is not just about economics. See, I was totally emotionally involved in your conversation, what you were discussing, and if I ask you this way, that if this intense sort of situation occurs in a classroom where a youngster, an adolescent is getting up and telling you that I don't like Sundays, being I have to be indulged in farming activities, I like more in to be in the classroom. So as a teacher, how do you feel and how do you face such situations in an economic classroom? How do you deal with them? Please tell our viewers.
Yeah. It's again like it's very difficult, because like there are many students and they are from various socio-economic backgrounds, many like different cultural backgrounds. So again, it's difficult, but ultimately what I believe is, giving answer is not very much important. What's more important is the understanding the feelings of the students and then responding them. So this is what I used to do in my class, that along with the concepts or the things which we are studying or whatsoever it is, as Dr. Srinivasan was saying, that ultimately, like in his statement, he marked that we want good citizens out of any subject which we are studying. So here also the purpose of teaching economics is to tell the students the exact situation, because we have seen that most of the students are having only one side, are knowing the one side. For example, private school students, they are having one side of resources only. The other side, when we see, then there are students who are having lack of resource and their situations are different. Then one very important thing, which is like, it is very difficult to teach the students when we are teaching poverty to the students who are well to do with everything. They have not seen poverty. We are teaching in classroom agriculture or the organic farming. We are teaching them sustainable development, rural development. So in a classroom which is having good furniture, which is having good facilities in the classroom, and even the students, they are having at their places, they are having ACs, they are they are traveling in cars and everything, they are well to do with everything. And we are this is a biggest challenge, to teach them subjects like poverty, rural development, sustainable
Right.
development, environment. So then again, for that particular thing, we have to get into lot many activities. Even we go for visits also. Like last year only, we have visited one village also. I took the students to village also, and there actually they have found that these are the problems. And there were many good things about villages also, and again then there were challenges also. So it's all about that, when you are having a healthy conversation with the students, you can establish certain things, and the students can also start understanding the things in the most realistic way.
Absolutely. As you only said that economics has, everything to do with our day-to-day life, our mindset, and things around us. Here, I would like to ask about this to Dr. Srinivasan as well. Dr. Srinivasan,
yeah, see
kindly throw some light on these practical experiences what Dr. Mahinderji talked about.
Yeah, so this taking children to the daily life issues, it's something very important for developing multiple perspective. So I told you in the beginning of the discussion that the multiple perspective is the situation where children have different viewpoints, and then the role of teacher is very essential to guide them and to develop. See, one of the major requirements for enriching the idea of multiple perspective in the economics classroom is that helping children to probe further. For example, I can assure you that if there is a data, let me give you an example of data on agriculture production. If there is a agriculture production, then you will have a data on how India attained self-sufficiency compared to 1960s. Maybe the viewers may be recalling, say about a week before, we had a discussion on agriculture production.
Right.
How agriculture production has increased from a mere importer of food grains. In 1950s, we desperately imported food grains, and then India initiated the idea of green revolution. And then today, India proudly claimed that it is a self-sufficient country in terms of production of food grains is concerned. Okay, so when we produce this data in the classroom, economics classroom, that we are able to achieve self-sufficiency in food grains production. And then one student said, "Sir, we have implemented green revolution, but have you seen the consequences of the green revolution? Have you seen the impact of the green revolution it has made on the groundwater levels? Have you seen the impact the green revolution has made on the quality of the soil? That today the groundwater is depleting every day. Though India is one of the countries which is literally sucking the groundwater in a maximum extent. At least 24% of the groundwater available in the whole world is consumed only by the India. So we cannot, so the students started arguing, saying that we cannot say that we may be achieving food grains production, self-sufficiency, meeting the food essentials, but at a cost. What is the cost that we incurred? So here is the situation. One set of students are claiming proudly, though it is essential as a citizen, that we should be proud of our nation's achievements as a country with a self-sufficiency, but we also have to listen to the other side of the story of the need for self-sustainable development, the need for the cultivating Indian soil without degrading it, using the water in such a manner that we are able to keep something for the future generations also. So this is the one example that the economics classroom can be made live by providing a small set of data. Okay, and then the economics classrooms, not only in microeconomics or macroeconomics, Indian economy, every topic that you are discussing. I can also show you another example, that for example, let us take poverty situation. If you look at poverty situation, as I showed you in my previous sessions on data analysis in social sciences, India at the time of independence, nearly 60% of the people were living below poverty line. Nearly 60%, more than 50%. Okay, and now we can proudly claim that the proportion of people below poverty line has come down from 60% to 22%, a radical shift. Now it is nearly 1/5 of the population is living below poverty line. Yes, we can proudly claim that yes, India has achieved considerable milestone in reducing the poverty. Then if you are having the data, if the students are provided with the data, they can also come out with the alternative argument. What is the alternative argument? Amit Badri, or if you have a global statistics, in 1980s, India had 20% of world's poor people. Today, India has 40% of world's poor people. What does that mean? This means that India must have achieved from the 60% to 22%, but doesn't mean that this is a great achievement. There are many countries which have achieved in terms of poverty much better than India. That means we have to achieve more. So this should not be seen from the critical angle, should not be seen from the negative dimension, but we should not be complacent with our statement of our economic achievement. So students may have to be provided with the variety of database, variety of sources, so that they are able to argue, they are able to develop how to collect evidences, so that they can have different viewpoints on the same issue. This is essential when they grow up as a citizen, if they take up economics at the higher level, if they study. Let me give you let me give you one example. I want to tell you how this perspective developed in undergraduate program. How this develops in the undergraduate program. Look at the slide. If you look at the slide, just take out your pen. I'm not going to leave you just simply by listening to my lecture. I'm going to give you how this perspective, multiple perspective emerge in economics. Is it simply that the day-to-day examples, day-to-day experiences that constitute economics multiple perspective? Multiple perspectives are also having strong ideological background. Economics is one subject which has very, very strong ideological bias. And economists all over the world, you will find that one study conducted by the conducted and the paper is available in the www.ineteconomics.org, that most economists all over the world are ideologically biased towards specific ideas. I will give you one example. It's also because the economic ideas are closely related to the political developments happening all over the world. Okay, so before that, let us look at, before the discussing about political developments, let us understand, you may be studying in class 11 or you may be studying in class 10, 12 and so on, and you may not have been introduced to the idea of how ideas emerge in economics as a subject. Okay, if you are in history, you will see that historians go many places and archival sites.
Right. And I can see many viewers are reverting what you are asking. Yes, please continue.
So they are going to archival areas, they look at the inscriptions, they visit places, they construct ideas about history, ideas about the events based on what was available in the print form, what was available in the inscription handwritten forms, and so on in history. Okay. In case of economics, the ideas are based on the observation by the experts, observation of the society. They read, they understand, they visit the places, fields, and based on which they come out with the ideas. Who are these people? Some of you may be teachers. Let me pose some questions to you. And there are students, you can listen to this, you can see these figures because they are going to be appearing in your textbooks, in your undergraduate courses, in television and so on, or they may be in history textbooks also. Look at this picture. The photo looks very new. Just take out your pen. Can you just recognize his name? You just write his name if you are already knowing about it. Otherwise, I am going to give you the answers a bit later.
Our students may write in the chat box as well, replying.
Yeah.
You may reply, students. We will be taking up your names as well if you can recognize the person.
You can just write their names. Question. You can write number 1 and then name.
Okay.
Number 2. I can give you some clues about this fellow. He is a very popular statistician. He established Indian Statistical Institute. He was very popular. He propounded the idea of planning. He was instrumental in 5-year plans introduced in India in 1950s. He is the very veteran free trade economist, and he promoted that we need to trade, we need to liberalize economy. If at all one person in the whole world, and particularly in the context of India, economic reform was also happening in the 1991 because of this man. You know that this is a person who got Nobel Prize. He worked in the area of welfare economics. He also has a index for poverty. Just write his name.
I have got 2 answers.
Yeah, don't tell. I'll just coming back actually. So this is he is also one economist who worked in the area of macroeconomics. He worked in on the developmental issues. He studied poverty. He studied about production conditions in India. Just you can write the names. He is the another economist who worked in the area of money, macroeconomics, developmental issues. He is one of the very, you can say, our grandfather. He worked on the idea of how poverty can be estimated. He lived during the time of pre-independent India. His book is very popular, and it is his book which still thriving debates in India. And he is also the founder of one theory called brain drain. 8. This economist, he is the one very popular. If you recall 3 weeks before, the Supreme Court has said that ladies can get their inherited property as that of their brothers.
Right.
So the land rights ensured. This was made as a law in 2005 because of this economist book, a field of one's own. Write her name. He is another person who is very instrumental in implementation of midday meals on a national scale. Initially it was implemented in Tamil Nadu only, but now it has become a national program. He was also instrumental in the formulating Manrega, one of the important developmental economists. Again, he is a free trade economist, and in his name there is a chair in Columbia University, and he promoted the idea of liberalization, promoting the structural adjustment program in India. He says that India will benefit by doing liberalizing its economy. He was also the first deputy chairperson of the Niti Aayog, a free trade economist, and he is also working in the area of political economy of India. Currently works last. Here is another economist who is very much development economist who works in the area of international trade. So these are some of the important. This is very subjective assessment of the. I am just giving you only 12 people. These are the people who writes, who conduct research, who write books, and then that become a major debating point, and then the theories are getting formulated. When you are taking up undergraduate courses, when you study, you will come to know more about how they become theories. But at this juncture, I would strongly suggest you that this is the book. The title is color in like red color, Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. Poverty and Un-British Rule in India. The grandfather photo I showed you, Dadabhai Nauroji, wrote this book, and this book has become very popular, and it makes many scholars. If you look at Shashi Tharoor has written a dark, a recent book, a dark side of India. His book, this was the first book published in 1901 on brain theory, brain drain, how the British people exploited India from the economic perspective. So many economists, they write books by investigating the issue. When this is discussed among the scholars, then the theories emerge. For example, the theory of brain drain, or the theory of exploitation of the British by India, like India by the British government, is based on this book. So the economic perspectives, various economic perspectives emerge by this kind of contribution by the economist.
Right. So here I would like to take names of the students who are reverting back, and Abrar said, Abrar has replied many of the economists which were shown. Mahalobinis was the answer.
PC Mahalanobis.
And Shobhanan Ramachandran has also said PC Mahalobinis.
Mahalanobis, yeah.
And fourth was Amartya Sen.
Yeah.
And then we have got seventh as Dadabhai Naroji.
I'm just giving the clue now. Look at the screen.
Yes.
The viewers, you can see the yourself for the answers.
And I guess many of our viewers, many students were right. I can read the replies which are here. And many of you have given the replies in a very right way. Yes, Dr. Srinivasan.
Yeah. So the 12 names that the photograph that I showed you, let me go back to each photograph. Many times we are very much aware about the cinema actors, politicians by their photographs, but economists, they are not getting such popularity like the cinema actors and politicians. So it's better as an economics student, you start recognizing the face of many people. This photograph is V.K.R.V. Rao. V.K.R.V. Rao is the person who set up many institutions in India, and he was first one to estimate national income accounts. All the GDP debates that are going on today, and the founding people one of the founding people were V.K.R.V. Rao. The second photograph, P.C. Mahalanobis. P.C. Mahalanobis is the founder of the Indian Statistical Institute. And the third photograph, T.N. Srinivasan. Fourth photograph, as most of you have answered, Amritya Sen, fifth, Amit Baduri, Amit Baduri worked in the Jawaharlal Nehru University as an emeritus professor, and then recently he delinquished his emeritus professorship due to the differences with the university. Sixth photograph is that of Professor Prabhat Patnaik, and seventh photograph is that of Dadabai Nauroji.
Right. Dr. Srinivasan, we have hardly any minutes left.
Yeah.
Please conclude the presentation.
So the idea behind the photographs which I showed you is that these are the people who writes extensively in the media as a research textbooks, and these textbooks, they form economic theories. Okay, how this if you look at the origin of the economic perspective, that may come from the revolutions. Look at the screen. These are the major sources of the economic theories or economic perspectives. Revolutions like the October Revolution, French Revolution, American Revolution, they also come out with, they also lead to theoretical developments. Social movements, wars, they are also the other sources of the perspectives economics. Economic events, for example, Great Depression happened in 1929 in America and Europe, that led to birth of macroeconomics. I am sure that students of class 12 will come to know. So same way, if you look at financial crisis 2008, now it has happened recently. That is also another source of new theories emerging.
Right.
So if you look at the where these are all getting emerging. So if you look at the origin, you will see that these ideas are all emerge in the higher education institutions, universities. Okay, and these universities nurture new ideas, they come out with a new knowledge system. Okay, so the universities and research papers, they come out with the different perspectives. I am sure that when you study in higher classes, you will come to know that economic perspectives, like for example different school of thought, neoclassical, classical, Marxian school, Australian school, these are some of the schools of thought will emerge, and your textbooks also will give you some introduction when you are moving to class 12.
Right, absolutely. So this was the session about multiple perspectives in economics. We learnt about what these multiple perspectives are, and with the other guest, Mahendraji very well, beautifully described that how these multiple perspectives are practiced in classrooms in terms of economics teaching. And the session was very fruitful, very knowledgeable, as our viewers were replying continuously on what all we discussed here. And we really thank Mahendraji for joining us today. It was really wonderful to have you for this session. And Dr. Srinivasan, you join us time to time for these live interaction programs. We thank you as well for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
And to our viewers, remain connected to PM eVidyas for such live interaction programs. Thank you. Namaskar.